It's been 14 long years since the first No More Heroes game came out on the Nintendo Wii and blew my mind. 14 years of Beam Katanas, an increasingly insane set of super assassins to murder, and lawn mowing. And of course, 14 years of Travis Touchdown, one of the most irreverent and foul-mouthed characters in video games. So it is with great excitement that I get to say that I completed No More Heroes 3, even if doing so gave me a nemesis from the other side of the world.
That's right, Suda-san, you challenged me once before, and now it's you and I once again in our final battle and send-off to Travis in No More Heroes 3. So bring it on, you bastard! Hey everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of The Completionist, where we don't just beat the games, we complete them, no matter what it takes! Even if the game is so new that not a lot of information about it anywhere on the internet. I mean, now there is, but when I started completing it, there wasn't. But I know enough, I'm good! No matter what, we complete them. You hear that, Suda? I completed it!
まあ自宅で自粛中のお友達久しぶりだね。なんかまだゲームで、ね、生活費稼いで頑張ってるみたいじゃん。よくやってる。で最近なんか景気良さそうなんだけどどうですか。だけどなんかノーマンヒーローズ3は苦労してたね。当たり前だろ。苦労し当たり前なんだよ。このファック野郎。
Wait a second, Suda-san can say fuck, but I can't? What the fuck? This is fuck bullshit.
まあ君もいつか俺みたいなファックな人間になれると思うよ。コンプリーショニスト。まあだけどね、どんな険しい道か今度教えてよ。さあ狂い咲きの楽園へようこそ。
Oh, I'll tell you about the journey, you schmarmy bastard. And for you all at home watching, I'm gonna spoil the living fuck out of this game. So get ready for that. Let's go! Yes!
All glory goes to the winner! Game over. Wake up! Last one standing wins. KO!
So, quick history lesson. No More Heroes is probably a lot of gamers' first exposure to the unique madness of Suda51. Suda and its production company Grasshopper Manufacture have actually been around since the late 90s, but No More Heroes, a third-person hack-and-slash originally designed for the Nintendo Wii, directed by Suda, was definitely the studio's breakout hit. But before No More Heroes, there were games like Killer 7, total mindfucks that pushed the limits of what a game could do and say. And after No More Heroes, we got Shadows of the Damned, a Resident Evil 4-esque action game that is totally wild. Everyone should absolutely play it, considering there are rumors that recently Suda-san just purchased back the rights from EA. But No More Heroes is what we're here for, even though I will take literally any opportunity to talk about Shadows of the Damned. If you want me to complete that game, let me know in the comments down below, because hot damn do I love it. Now I am aware of my broken record stories here on the channel, but I do love to walk down memory lane for a bit. Back when I worked at Best Buy, No More Heroes was the game I'd use to show off the Nintendo Wii to the more adult players who'd come into the store. Sure, there was Wii Sports, but nothing else was like No More Heroes for getting people to sit up and take notice. It was always my ye old faithful game to pitch to people that would otherwise write the Nintendo Wii off as a kid's console, and completing it is still one of my favorite memories, both in my personal and now professional life. The first game's plot can be boiled down to this, as simply as I can explain it. Travis Touchdown is our guy, and he is a weeb. Guy wants to impress girl. Guy buys Beam Katana. Guy gets roped into killing top 10 assassins and becomes the #1 ranked assassin in the world. Lots of secret crazy family drama, lots of cryptic stuff, lots of violence and blood. Tale as old as time. The sequel, No More Heroes 2 Desperate Struggle, refined and expanded everything from the first game. Suda said that if the original was successful enough, he'd be interested in producing a sequel, and that's exactly what happened. This game had a condensed map with different UI and no overworld traversal. I thought the minigames were definitely improved from the first game, and I just fell in love with the whole universe that was being created. However, Suda didn't really direct this game, even though he was heavily involved. No More Heroes 2 picks up a few years after the first game, where Travis has walked away from the assassin life, but he's dragged back into the drama on a quest for revenge. Characters from the first game are fleshed out, and the whole universe starts to feel much, much deeper. It would be almost 10 years before Suda directed another No More Heroes project. We got more of that universe with the spin-off game Travis Strikes Again, released in early 2019. Now, TSA is one of the strangest games I've ever completed, featuring a collaboration between Suda51 and a bunch of indie devs. It is a love letter to indies and a solid entry in its own right. And even if the gameplay is almost entirely different from the No More Heroes style and genre we know, the vibe very much is still the same. In TSA, Travis is living by himself in a trailer in the middle of nowhere. It's been 7 years since the events of No More Heroes 2, but people are still out to kill Travis, including Badman, a bat-wielding psycho on a quest to revive his dead daughter. This game folds in characters from other Suda projects, furthering expanding the Sudaverse and giving a glimpse of what's to come in Travis's future. And for those of you who missed out, yeah, Suda came here on this channel and challenged me to complete this game, breaking several walls and blowing lots of people's minds. I'm still in awe that Suda is here again for a second time to tell me how much I suck. And I am totally okay with this. Now, I've given every No More Heroes game on this channel a finish it rating, because no matter how much I am here for the craziness and the uniqueness, there is always a point where the gameplay drags on for a little too long for us completionists. Even Travis Strikes Again, which is a pretty short game all things considered, added the Death Glove chips, which were hard as hell to find every single one of, let alone collect the maximum number of each category. So, now that we're here, we're caught up, and just over a few months ago, No More Heroes 3 arrived. Now you're caught up. Let's get back to it. One of Suda's greatest strengths as a creator has always been his propensity to say "fuck you" to subtlety and to make the things that he wants to make. With No More Heroes 3, it's clear he wanted to make a game that was anime as hell. This entire game is over the top, from the action to the plot to the actual completion criteria. There is a more is more is more approach that is incredible to play, even if it is extremely exhausting.
何もう疲れちゃったのコンプリーショニストさん。遊んで疲れるならさ、ほんとゲーム1本作ってみなよ。まあすげえ大変だぜ。朝から晩までパーティー？いやデバッグですよ。そしてデバッグが終わったらこのビール見て、ノンアルコールビールこれでね、ご褒美の一杯。うまい。I'm game designer.
It is literally impossible to condense the plot of this game because it is all over the place, and as someone who has put a lot of time into the game, I still don't know what the fuck is going on. All I know is that I had a good time experiencing it. Interestingly, the inciting incident barely involves Travis Touchdown whatsoever. 20 years ago, a spacecraft crashed onto planet Earth. A young boy named Damon rescued a furry little critter named Fu from the wreckage, and the two shared an ET-like connection. Damon helped Fu build a rocket to get back to his home, and Fu promised to return in 20 years. But when Fu finally returns, it is not the warm reunion Damon was hoping for. Instead, Fu has made some unsavory intergalactic friends. In short order, Fu and his new pals decided to conquer Earth and kill anyone who stands in their way. That includes the world's top-ranked assassin, Travis Touchdown, and anyone who defends him. So within the first hour or so of starting No More Heroes 3, I viewed a heartfelt anime short film, observed the most fabulous and flamboyant villain since Final Fantasy VI's Kefka, and watched Travis fail to defend his friends Shinobu and Badman. For Travis, defeating Fu and defending Earth becomes very personal, but he can't just run up to Fu and start bashing him with his Beam Katana or his incredible new Gundam suit. Instead, Travis's wife Sylvia, who works for the United Assassins Association, tells him that he'll have to climb the Galactic ranks, just like he had to climb the Assassin ranks in previous titles. Are you confused yet? I honestly felt like I was losing my mind for a lot of the story beats. I have completed every No More Heroes title more than once at this point in my life, and I still felt very lost with some of the reveals and story elements. This game really could use a recap of the previous entries to get you caught up to speed here. For players who have beaten those first two titles, the gameplay structure of this one is very similar. To earn a shot at climbing the Galactic rankings, Travis will have to compete in designated matches, found in random spots marked on the gigantic overworld map. But it's not just the town of Sansa Destroy this time around. It's a big old open world with several different distinct environments. Fortunately, Travis has his Akira-style superbike to zip around from one point of interest to the next, and there are eventually some fast travel options that open up as well. It isn't enough to simply win designated matches, however. I also had to pony up Utopian coins, an entry fee to the UAA. This is another standard No More Heroes thing, farming cash by doing mini-games and other assassin missions. The map is packed full of little question marks and indicators of where to go to earn money, so it was never a desperate struggle to get what I needed. After earning cash, it's off to the nearest ATM to transfer the money. Then I can finally move on to the boss fight for that ranking. Now, the boss battles and combat challenges are the biggest, flashiest parts of No More Heroes 3, but there's plenty to do otherwise. Mini-games out the ass, everything from picking up garbage to defending beaches against gigantic invading alligators, and of course, all mini-games and battles have bronze, silver, gold medals to earn, or letter rankings from C to SS. And as you can tell from here, for completionist's sake, I had to do it all. But the real test of patience was the reintroduction of Death Glove chips. Travis Strikes Again had them, and No More Heroes 3 brings them right back. Now, the Death Glove is a kick-ass accessory, and having the chips makes tons of sense. But it was hell to actually find the loot to craft all of these Death Glove accessories. This is where it gets incredibly crazy. We have here a third-person open-world action game with loot and crafting and grinding, but it also makes fun of all of those conventions. Suda is out here having characters commenting on the absurdity of video games, doing the same old things over and over again, and then he puts his own spin on it. Open world elements that I've dragged in other videos make an appearance here, which is a weird conflict. If you lampshade a thing like grinding for loot, and then including grinding for loot as a completion requirement, does that make it tolerable, or does it just draw more attention to it? I mean, I already have an answer ready to go. I just completed the damn game, but I want you guys to simmer on it and think about it over the next few minutes. Because here's the thing, no matter how many now cliche video game mechanics are laced throughout No More Heroes 3, the way they are presented is utterly unique, filtered through the lens of Suda51 and Grasshopper Manufacturer. Everything old feels new again, at least at first. There are plenty of games that ooze style, but No More Heroes 3 also drips with attitude. Everything about the world and world building is in your face. It's edgy, it's punk rock, it's discordant, it's Suda51. Even if you've never played a No More Heroes title, by the end of 3, you will feel like you know Suda, especially if you go full completion. This game is packed full of references and metatextual elements, from character dialogue to in-game mechanics. Ever heard of Takashi Miike, director of 13 Assassins and other hyper-violent, hyper-stylized samurai and Yakuza films? Check him out, maybe pull up a wiki. Even though the director's presence is just one part of No More Heroes 3, learning about his style and tropes really helped me understand this particular game so much better. I was watching Kill Bill recently, and it's a similar sort of thing. A good movie on its own, maybe even a great one, but if you're aware of all the stuff that Tarantino is referencing, it makes the movie a much richer experience. No More Heroes 3 draws a ton of references, and it was kind of a treat to educate myself on some anime, film, and even some video game stuff that I was very less familiar with.
ねえねえコンプリーショニストさん、歴史を作るっていうのはそう簡単なもんじゃないんだよね。やっぱり一本一本作品を仕上げていってそれが歴史になる、これが大事なんだよ。見てごらんウルトラマン、ゾフィーからそして始まってウルトラマン、そしてウルトラマン帰ってきたウルトラマンがウルトラセブンもあるよ。今ちょうどね 4K で再放送してます。4K テレビ俺持ってないからちょっと残念なんだけども、そして今ねウルトラマン Z からウルトラマントリガー、もう最高の流れですよ。そしてウルトラマンティガーね、これ絶対チェックしなきゃダメ。それが歴史ね。ちょっと待って、なんでカウントが出てるぞ。ちょっと待って、カウント止めろ。そう簡単に切っちゃダメだぞ。俺の話はまだ終わってないんだ。おい殺すぞ、ほら殺すぞ、潰すぞ、ほら。
Alright, so the plot of this game is basically that of a shonen anime or manga, where Travis fights increasingly powerful enemies on his quest to be the best. It's like Trigun or Dragon Ball. Hell, even the enemy character designs remind me of one-off villains from One Punch Man, especially in how they're introduced and then taken off the board immediately. In the universe of No More Heroes, absolutely nothing and no one is sacred. But look, I have to say, even as a huge fan, this is easily one of the worst executed plots of the series thus far. I have played through every one of these multiple times, and there are still plot beats that have me going, hang on, what? Even though it hasn't even been that long since I completed Travis Strikes Again, I felt pretty lost at points. So much stuff happens off screen that I couldn't help but be confused. For example, Travis and Sylvia are still married? When did they get married? When that happened? And they have 2 kids together that are twins? Where was that reveal? How much more of the Sudaverse have I missed? Is it my fault, or is it the convoluted way the story is told through flashbacks and other non-linear sequences? Oh, that is my fault, because I didn't play the DLC for Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes. See, when I completed the game originally, there was no DLC, and in fact, there was new DLC released that I never played. So, yeah, okay, I'll take the L on this one. This one's on me, folks. This one's on me. It's on me. But with regards to No More Heroes 3, some character reveals felt like real surprises, and other moments completely didn't land for me because I felt like I was scrambling to figure out what was even happening across the narrative the entire time. This irreverence towards typical plot structure also extends to gameplay mechanics. Once I saw what Suda was doing, I realized that this game was basically a satirical masterpiece. A lot of the design on display here is in response to criticism of the first 2 games of the series. For the most part, the series had learned from its mistakes of the past to be a great entry point for newcomers. Like Travis himself, this game has figured itself out in its place in the world. But for every smart and satirical design choice made, there were a couple of missteps along the way. No More Heroes 3 has 5 hubs, basically divided into 5 different islands, and each one is lightly themed around something different. It feels cool to expand Travis's world this way. However, each area feels pretty empty. There might be a handful of cars to drive past or some NPCs walking around, but there is almost no meaningful interaction to be had in any of these areas. Immersion is almost non-existent. But here's the deal, all of this feels extremely intentional. Like Suda is having a little fun at the expense of AAA developers and critical fans. It's like how people collectively realized that Tarantino was into feet, and so now all of his films feature some kind of gratuitous foot shot because he's aware of that. Suda is essentially calling out how open worlds might be very busy, but they're also ultimately very empty. Not every open world game needs a ton of stuff in it. At least that's the way that I see it. I appreciate the meta commentary here. But at the end of the day, facts are still facts. This world still feels pretty empty. But because this world felt kind of empty, I was compelled to explore all of it in depth. I knew there had to be something out there, and lo and behold, the more I searched, the more I was rewarded. There are tons of collectibles and things to get in No More Heroes 3, almost all of them exclusively in the open world overworld. From 21 shiny scorpions hidden off in the far distances, to Jean the cat's 11 baby kittens. I was pleasantly surprised at how much there was to track down and find. And here's the weird thing, these collectibles sometimes do and sometimes don't feel like they fit in this world. Strangely, I'd say it's the fashion that ties everything together. Just like all of the games in the No More Heroes franchise, there are dozens of t-shirts that Travis can wear and equip. Some are unlocked right from the start, easy to access from the wardrobe in the motel hub. Others are tied to story beats. Beat whatever boss, get a shirt with the design of that character on it. Still, others are gifted to Travis by t-shirt aliens who have come to Earth to make humans more fashionable. These are still tied to completion with specific goals like performing wrestling moves in combat a certain number of times or earning thousands of Utopian coins. There are give or take 100 t-shirts and outfits in all. But the best part is, they all feel like they make sense in the world. In this crazy universe that includes bloodthirsty assassins, serial killers, aliens, and haunted virtual reality consoles, the clothes never felt out of place. Up to and including the racism hoodie that Travis can wear. It all works. Suda has created a heightened reality, and I loved experiencing it. That is both the beauty and frustration of completing No More Heroes 3. There are amazing characters and a fascinating world that are introduced here, but casual players will just breeze past most of this stuff. And that's fine, but I feel as though the game could go a little further to bring in novices. A little recap or something at the very beginning would go a very, very long way. Instead, several parts of No More Heroes 3 feel like a hyperactive child telling you a dream they had last night, as characters and concepts and even gameplay mechanics are often discarded soon after being introduced. So I'm kind of torn here. I love every single part of the art direction of this game. Every character is memorable, especially Lord Fu after he returns to Earth as an adult. He's garish and flamboyant and crude as fuck, but also incredibly menacing. The voice actor, and I'm sorry if I butcher this, Noshir Dalal, absolutely crushes the performance here. Honestly, every voice actor does a great job, especially Robin Atkin Downs returning as Travis Touchdown. It's incredibly difficult to sell over-the-top dialogue like this, but it all lands for me the entire time. The interstitials between boss fights and Travis appearing back in his hotel are incredibly funny to me. There's a planet-destroying gang of super-villain aliens violently killing people, but Travis and his bunny are just kicking it on the couch, enjoying beers, and talking about why Takashi Miike should be allowed to direct a Marvel movie. It's absurd, and no other game is even attempting to do anything like this. But for how much I was entertained by the story of No More Heroes 3, I was constantly conflicted and occasionally perplexed.
Shinobu, one of the coolest characters in the entire franchise, gets sidelined immediately.
It is entirely possible for players to see her only in the opening cutscene and then the finale towards the end of the game, and then never speak to her for the rest of the game in between.
Which sucks because Shinobu kicks ass.
Same with Batgirl, who feels like she should have some kind of arc here, considering after the events of Travis Strikes Again, she came back from the dead, and then she saw her father violently die right in front of her in the opening moments of the game. Plot beats like this hurt my enjoyment of the game as a whole, because as a completionist, it is easy to get distracted in a big open world game. Momentum is effectively destroyed the moment I start trying to knuckle down on the gameplay. As weird, hilarious, and interesting as the Sudaverse is, No More Heroes 3 suffers a little bit from a few design flaws that feel designed to frustrate completionists. But here's the thing, I'm already frustrated without even telling you what it's like to complete the game. So buckle up, folks, because here's where it gets intense. I've said before that No More Heroes 3 is easily the best No More Heroes game to date. To be specific, it's got the best combat. Combat is better than it's ever been. You can even suplex an alligator in one trash gathering minigame. But the customization and complexity of what Suda has created here comes at a crazy cost that no one really knows or is talking about. This game has some flaws, which are especially noticeable if you've put in more than 100 hours in, which, in case you're wondering, I have put more than 140 hours in on No More Heroes 3. Should anyone? Is this viable? Was this game intended with this kind of design? The answer is no, no, and no. But this headline sucks, right? Like, I ate 200 chicken wings and now my tummy hurts. Let me go into deep detail and explain why. But this critique goes beyond that. I think that a lot of what makes No More Heroes 3 special and compelling is that Suda51 knows his strengths, but also his limits. It seems like Grasshopper Manufacture is extremely open to collaboration, especially with things like the t-shirts and outfits. Outsourcing certain aspects of the game to other designers leads to some great stuff. But it definitely feels as though all of the teams were stretched very thin when it comes to optimization. There's no way around this, folks. I think the overworld graphics are very, very rough. At first, I was hoping it was going to be a day one patch situation, but here we are, even a few months after launch, And yes, it still looks this way. There is some serious screen tearing, pop-ins, glitches. Graphically, No More Heroes 3 tries its best at holding on and struggles a fair amount in that process. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt, Suda-san, and say this is probably a hardware issue. And what it comes down to is this: traveling around in all of these overworlds just doesn't look great. And I found it difficult to ignore because I spent a lot of time in the open world clearing all of these missions. There's practically 52 combat missions that you have to just get double S ranking on, and several minigames you have to get a gold medal for, which means you're going to be menuing and traveling in the overworld hubs quite a lot. Now, to be clear, I rarely felt like I had any issues in the combat scenarios or boss fights. These always ran at a locked 60 FPS and looked and played fantastic. These problems kind of existed out in the overworld or cutscenes exclusively, at least for me. But what's funny is that the various overworlds seem to embrace the grossness of this aesthetic. Going back to my point earlier, some of these areas feel like they were designed to not look great on purpose, as if to encourage the player, hey, get out of these overworld hubs and get to killing. The Call of Battle Zone is deliberately grainy and fuzzy to look at. The Thunderdome is desolate and dry, with barely any people or structures in the area. And many cutscenes with Fu are mimicking specific styles, which is great. But I do think at some point, the Switch just isn't up to the task to carry the torch that is No More Heroes 3.
Now, I'm not trying to couch my opinion here, just providing a little perspective, if you will. My first playthrough on the hardest available difficulty out the gate took around 25 hours. If you play on Berry Sweet, the easiest difficulty, where Travis is immune to all damage, you can knock out the story in maybe 5 hours. But completing this game took me more than 140 hours. And just like Travis's Beam Katana, it can be hard to stay energized for that long. And yes, that was kind of an unintentional dick joke. Come at me, internet. All right, that was another unintentional dick joke. That's 2 for 1.
This game doubles down on the combat and boss fights that the series is known for. Combat is more vibrant than ever, and made even more fun with the addition of 4 Death Glove powers. They are absolutely vital, especially when you need a little space to charge that Beam Katana in Travis's signature way. But there is a deep, dark completion-related criteria that basically shattered me, and that context alone is why this video has come out so far away from its launch window. So hey, make sure you watch this video, and if you like it, slap that freaking like button, leave a comment down below about what your favorite ramen flavor is. Mine is spicy miso, and more importantly, please, please, please tell people to watch this because it's about to get really depressing really quickly. For those of you who are in the dark, when it comes to No More Heroes and its combat, it's quite brutal and fun. Fighting enemies involves Travis hurting them with his totally not lightsaber counterpart, the Beam Katana, in a very, very violent manner. When enemies run out of health, it's time to finish them off by cutting off their head or slicing straight down the middle of their body. And in the traditional standard No More Heroes fare, upon everyone's death, a roulette wheel appears in which one of several icons then starts rolling like a roulette machine. Surprise, surprise. Each icon represents a special skill or power-up for Travis. No More Heroes 3's roulette wheel ranges from some of the best to some of the worst power-ups in the history of the franchise. On one hand, Travis can temporarily equip his awesome Gundam armor for one special move, and then because of the plot, eventually that power-up becomes even better because you can run around in the Gundam and get 2 special moves. It's super sick. And then another power-up is that you get double the income of the basic currency. There's one skill that gives you the ability to send anyone to Suplex City as much as you'd like, and then one that doubles your purple alien currency. Extreme opposites that I really like and really dislike. No More Heroes, especially 3, is insanely violent, and I don't recommend it to children, but there is something so awesome about fighting with this Beam Katana. It's as if what we all would dream about if we had a lightsaber and how it would handle. With previous No More Hero entries, Travis is fighting humans, and thus, there's lots of blood all over the place. But in the case of No More Heroes 3, we are dealing with aliens, so it's not nearly as relatably gross. Mixed in with this badass swordplay is wrestling. Sometimes enemies will get stunned and you'll see stars pop out of them. Stun them enough times and suddenly they're wide open for a wrestling move, and boom, you're a wrestling superstar. However, New from Travis Strikes Again are the Death Chips. And in No More Heroes 3, the narrative of not becoming a wrestling Jedi is very much that you become a wrestling Jedi. The 4 death moves allow you to push and pull enemies, summon an AoE circle that shoots Space Invader pellets at anyone standing in them, a jumping death kick, and the ability to slow down time. Now you'd think these death moves are cheating, but in actuality, they are a great equalizer, as No More Hero 3's combat arenas are very much a small but tight space with tons of enemies to boot. Given Travis's love of anime and manga, Travis must now battle a handful of gigantic space kaiju monsters. These 5 fights, while very fun and interesting the first few times you encounter them, you will get sick of them pretty quickly. You'll either get burnt out on them because while you're trying to earn double S ranking on specific missions, these space fights will just randomly spawn and take place of the mission you're trying to farm with no great way to quit or bypass them. Or you'll get really mad because if you're trying to earn a particular item from these 5 boss fights, you cannot determine which fight you will get. It's complete RNG, they just show up randomly. Huh. I guess either way, you'll be angry. It's a lose-lose. However, a massive change to the formula for No More Heroes 3 is loot. No More Heroes 3 should just be subtitled No More Heroes 3 All Monsters Hunted. After every battle, Travis earns loot. That loot has rarity. Loot can be sold for resources, but the main thing is it's useful for crafting new Death Glove chips, and these act like accessories, not replacements to the Death Glove skills. These chips are equipable buffs, which do things like increase attack power, raise defense, some go up, some go down accordingly, or even like a cooldown timer for Death Glove powers. Some are much more powerful than others, most of them totally suck. You can craft many of them up to 3, with the most powerful of them only being 1. However, the required resource list for all of these items is massive, and I think you know where this is going, folks. Since the loot is essentially random drops in standard fights, boss fights, and other space kaiju battles, I had to grind and farm all of them like you wouldn't believe. So Travis's apartment in the No More Heroes Hotel has a fireman's pole. At the bottom of the pole is a secret lab where Travis can upgrade stats with coins. Maxing out the stats requires a little grinding, but the most important thing in the room is the supercomputer where you can create chips. I returned to this spot dozens, if not hundreds of times, trying to figure out what I needed. Most chips are pretty easy to make, but after a bit, I realized I was searching for materials that I had no idea how to find. Enter the other big thing in this underground lab, the time machine. The time machine lets you replay boss battles at whatever difficulty that you can. You do need to beat them in sequential order, so easy all the way to death mode. During my first playthrough, I pretty much found a majority of all of the rare loot, but it got to the point where I was missing 11 unique purple rare items that I needed to create certain chips. And since I was playing this game before it even released, I was sailing in uncharted waters. A big thank you to r/No More Heroes for helping me in figuring out all of this and how it has to get done. Using guides and being efficient when I complete games is sometimes necessary, but I love figuring out stuff on my own. I don't get to do that as often as I used to, but for this particular game, I really wished I knew how to get what I needed, because even when I realized what I had to do and developed the skills to execute, RNG kicked my ass to the ground. It would have been nice to know what was going on going in. So, let's break it down. Here's what I had to do to get every single chip and resource in the game. Those 11 unique items that I spoke of, each one correlates as a rare drop from one of the bosses in the game. You can only earn these drops on death mode. Death mode literally means one hit and you're dead. You have to perfectly kill these bosses without taking a hit. Note that getting double S ranking does not matter in this mode. It doesn't add to chances of success, nor does it matter in terms of scoring, as the time machine will wipe out any ranking you get every time you do a run. Double S or C, it doesn't matter. So, to get you up to speed, I was farming boss fights on one-hit death mode. The RNG drops were so small, I'm talking the slightest of chances of getting one of these specific items. And here's the kicker, I didn't need to just only get one item one time. I had to get each of these 11 items anywhere from 3 to 8 times. To paint a picture for you folks at home, in 15 hours of me streaming on Twitch, I had one item drop 3 times and another one drop twice. I needed a total of 9 items between those 2 fights, and it took me 15 hours. To give you guys an idea, I was done with the base game at around hour 22, 25, all collectibles, all story, even all double S rank on everything. But the sad crippling fact here is that it took me 90 to 115 hours to get enough of the remaining 11 mystery resources to get all of the chips in the game. That, my friends, is a soul-crushing feeling. I eventually found a very great loophole I needed via a combination of difficulty manipulation and sushi setups. For those of you guys who don't know, if you play the game on the easiest setting, when you die and or get game over, you're given a little roulette wheel. These roulette wheels give you things like more damage, more health, or sometimes gives you bad luck and removes your starting battery, so the minute you start a fight, you have to recharge right away. On the easiest setting, there's the gene panel, which will revive you from death. And every time you play, die, do the wheel, repeat, the wheel gets slower and slower. So theoretically speaking, you could choose your main difficulty on your game file to be easy mode. Still play death mode on the time machine, and when you die, you'll have this roulette wheel. What I'm saying is, eventually, if you just suck that much, you can slowly crawl your way out of hell. Getting every chip in the game is a massive letdown because by the time you have them all, you 100% do not need them. Some of them are bonkers broken, some are just weird, but most simply just felt too little too late. One of them, the Apex chip, gives me a radar that would ping when I'd be on a bike near a collectible. This could have been incredibly helpful, but by the time I made the chip, I was well already done with the game, as it requires some pretty high-level components that you wouldn't know how to get unless you had the research under your belt. Now, there are a few chips that helped me despite my ranting here. There is the fun Zelda-themed chip that lets you shoot beams out of your katana as if it was the Master Sword. There's the Tiga chip, which gives you unlimited sword beam energy so you never have to recharge. But the best chip in the game, and hands down the one that is worth it all, is the Z chip. Equipping this chip made me feel like I found a weapon that could defeat gods. Once I had found out this chip existed, I stopped everything I was doing and focused on getting this thing, which had me farm particular bosses more than others in order to get it. And once I got it, it made the grinding so much easier. But when I say easier, I just mean it made my journey go from 300 hours down to that 140 roughly. The Z chip lets you use the Death Glove skills as much as you want without any cooldown whatsoever. It's nonsensical how powerful this thing is, and it was a godsend. I could hold bosses at bay and throw them around no problem. This chip alone helped ease the pain of me fighting Gold Joe 129 times just to find the right materials I needed for those missing chips. Now, I know I've been rambling here, but here's one last thing I want to say. For all the time I spent fighting bosses, it felt like I spent more time in menus and loading screens. The menuing for completionists is really bad. Outside of boss fights, there are plenty of minigames to try and get gold medals for and regular designated matches for double S rank, but there's no simple way to retry them. Let's say I fell into a lava pool during the mining minigame. Instead of a message saying like, hey, you died, try again, I was kicked back to the overworld where I had to talk to the NPC in charge of that mission, click through whatever dialogue that was there, and then wait through another loading screen until I could try again. This might sound like a small nitpick, but again, 140 plus hours in this game. That's a lot of time spent in menus and not actually playing the game, you know? Getting gold in every side mission is tough, and having an easy way to retry stuff would have gone a long way towards making completion a little less taxing. And what's most depressing about all of that is that this is a common problem that persists in every No More Heroes title. I would kill to put a retry button somewhere in any of your games, Suda-san. It's hard to say whether most of this is a problem or many problems for the game at large. People who aren't completionists likely won't even engage with most of this content. I felt like I was a little obligated too, right? And I had an amazing time because I was already so invested in the entirety of the No More Heroes franchise. This is the swan song, the send-off of all send-offs. But even for novices, all of these systems, even high-level combat, might not really seem worth mastering. But hey, I still recommend it. There is something fulfilling about mastering this game's combat. Maybe it's because hearing Travis yell "F fuckhead every 5 seconds made me internalize that, yeah, all the enemies in this game are fuckheads and deserved to be drop-kicked into oblivion. I'll admit, the story of No More Heroes 3 is kind of nonsense, but it's beautifully compelling nonsense. Pretty much all of it is carried by the bosses and side characters, but the best part about these boss fights is their execution. For video game fans, these fights are Suda51's masterstroke. Every boss encounter subverts expectations in some unique way. Some bosses you don't even fight at all because Fu kills them before Travis actually meets them. But the Midori battle and the lead up to it is incredible. It's genuinely creepy, a complete tonal shift from everything that's before in this game. Before I battled her, I explored a creepy abandoned school in first person. I really felt like I had entered Silent Hill or Fatal Frame. Blood dripping down the walls and terrifying headless mannequins posed spookily. The fight against Midori is a great battle, but the build-up impressed me more. But Suda was not content to quit messing with genres, because in the Sonic Juice boss fight leading up to it, suddenly this game became a JRPG. And not just any JRPG, it basically became a Final Fantasy game, down to the font, menu color, and sound effects. Travis even comments on how it's time for everyone to admit that, hey, the polygonal characters of Final Fantasy VII kind of looked like shit. The entire encounter is mind-blowing, and as an expert on Final Fantasy, I was in awe at the sheer audacity of coming after fans of the series like that. But this is still not the most memorable part of No More Heroes 3. No, my friends, that would go to the final fight in the game. I'm not even going to talk about the build-up, I just got to get right to it. Suda puts Travis in Smash. He straight up made a Smash level. The fighting shifts to a 2D plane, the characters have percentage meters, it says game when you knock Damon off or when you die. It's incredible, and yet one more reason I am obsessed with Suda51. Suda may have said no Smash in our last video, but the madman went and did it himself.
なんてスマブラなし？そんなこと言ったかも覚えてないな。まあもう遅いけどね。スマブラ作っちゃったしさ。まあなんつったっても桜井さんがね、OK って言ってくれたから、もう遅いんだよ。もっと言ってみない。カモン。もっと言ってこい。OK。今度はコンプリーショニストお前をスマッシュする。ボーン。
So at the end of the day, what does completing No More Heroes 3 look like? Again, I'm almost at a loss, because all of that awesome plot stuff I described is just a blip in terms of completion criteria. For diehards like me, No More Heroes 3 is a game I've been dreaming about for years. For newbies, it's a lot to take in, but it's incredibly satisfying. And for completionists, it's somewhere in between. Fortunately for you all, I'm probably the only person who had to earn every chip in the game this hard way. Which, by the way, earning every chip in the game does nothing! Nothing! By the time you're watching this, I'm sure there are guides out there, walkthroughs, dozens of Reddit posts and YouTube videos explaining how to do everything efficiently without breaking a sweat. For me, I went in knowing nothing, and Suda bitch slapped the shit out of me. Finding all the collectibles was never a concern because I love exploration. As janky as I thought the overworld was, it still rips to zoom around on a gigantic bike. Finding all the scorpions, seeds, doppelganger locations, capsule figures, and Deathman cards isn't really all that hard, just a little time consuming. Each collectible comes with a shirt to celebrate the end of the road for each category, so by getting everything in the game, you get rewarded t-shirts. Ranking gold on all side missions does diddly squat, other than earning the player a shit ton of cash. The same goes for getting double S rank on all fights. But I will say, there is a secret cool bike mission. Rather than just a racing minigame, I had to crash the bike into a rival gang's vehicle and destroy it within a certain amount of time, and with minimal damage to earn a gold medal. There are a few bike missions on a few islands, and earning a gold medal on all of these unlocks a secret mission, which is kind of rad. Though I gotta say, I didn't love this side mission. It's really freaking hard, and this is coming from someone who has mastered every aspect of this game at this point. The secret boss fight mission was tough as fuck. Maxing out Travis's stats is completely necessary if you want to have a fighting chance on tougher difficulty levels. But there isn't any kind of secret stat bonus or anything for doing so. Hell, I even beat the high score in the Deathman arcade game just to see if that was possible. It is, and I wasn't rewarded anything for my efforts. So at this point, I know Suda is just fucking with me. No More Hero games, including Travis Strikes Again, just plain don't have any true completion bonuses out there. But hey, I'm not one to leave a challenge out on the table. Now I know this video is already long enough, but I do want to say thank you to Suda and his team for participating in this video. It truly was an honor, and I wanted to do a cool send-off, as this is not only the end of the No More Heroes universe, if you will, that we know it currently, but I wanted to say thank you to Suda, to Grasshopper Manufacture, and really just you guys at home for engaging in this fun storyline between Suda and myself. So here you guys go. I made a little music video just for you guys, telling the story of the Completionist versus Suda51 in the epic battle of completing No More Heroes 3. Enjoy.
Give him a game, I bet he completed. Over 400 and still undefeated. Now he set the bar so you cannot reach it. We ballin' hard, you stay in the bleachers. Ain't no more heroes, so what is you seeking? Ain't no more practice, he's so in the breaching. For me, it's completion, it's keeping it real. I ain't talking about sneakers, but he say he featuring. He keep it straight to the game like a crease in it. Better tread light in your lane. All about main. He got his eyes on the prize. Need to look out for the save. We on a roll. We might go so out of cold. No from the bay to the bay. Stay out the way. He leveled up on the gang. G4, you time for the plane. Yeah.
Every time we roll, you know that they are where we go, yeah. Better take it slow, we ain't a fighter, I suppose. But see, there ain't no more heroes in the game right now. I said there's no more heroes. Every time we roll, you know that they are where we go, yeah. Better take it slow, we ain't a fighter, I suppose, yeah. Ain't no more heroes in the game right now.
It's that major move, make a sayonara, see you later. Suda51 complaining how we fire at all the games, and he ain't never been the lame. Let's keep it in layman's, he's so crazy. Say it with your chest, strike back like Travis. Oops, meant Travis, touchdown, baddest. What now, savage? Roll up rapping, call that sushi, bust down habit. Suplex City, must not have it. Sword on the hip, get cut, no classes. Tragic, smash it, laughing, tab it, cool with a whole lot of swag and rage on fools when the beard mode's active. Tactics move like New Day, ass Creed, who they asking? Boom, we blasting, touche savvy. Ooh, don't gas me up.
There's no more heroes. Every time we roll, you know that they are where we go, yeah. Better take it slow, we ain't a fighter, I suppose. But see, there ain't no more heroes in the game right now. I said there's no more heroes. Every time we roll, you know that they are where we go, yeah. Better take it slow, we ain't a fighter, I suppose, yeah. Ain't no more heroes in the game right now.
It is an absolute pleasure to play a game from someone who has a real specific viewpoint. From a campaign perspective, No More Heroes 3 is a non-stop thrill ride that never ceases to impress, delight, or confuse. Shit is crazy the whole time. Things I didn't even have time to mention in this already long video. A rap battle, the fact that Travis has a time-traveling grandson like the Flash, and the fact that the final 10 minutes of this game teases an entire new series reboot when in the end it's trying to say goodbye to Travis and these characters. Mechanically, this is the tightest and most exciting combat has ever been. Unfortunately, the overworld hub kind of looks like ass. The minigames are still kind of boring and random, but that's kind of the point of them. They serve to break up the action so that the next beats hit even harder. This is a game unlike any other, though it claims to be the end of the Travis saga, if you will. I am all in on anything that Suda comes up with next. Because Suda-san, as much as you and I have this rivalry, I respect the living shit out of you. So, with that in mind, guys, I give this game my completionist rating of finish it.
Finish it!